Welcome back to Tabletop Assault. I'm Ross, and today we're going to look at the Ultramarines Codex Supplement. So this is the Codex Supplements we're now finding for the Space Marines main Codex, and this sort of gives you a new flavour towards your forces. We've obviously seen the White Scars so far, but there's a few other ones coming out which haven't been revealed yet, though if you watch my Space Marines review, you'll see which ones I speculate on based on wargear options and various texts within the Codex that gives you some key ideas of what they might be. So I'm going to look over this when it comes to Ultramarines. Now, one thing I'm going to put up a caveat when it comes to my first impressions is this. I don't know the Ultramarines too well. One, because we don't have them on the channel, and that is entirely due to David's unending hate for Ultramarines. Don't ask why, but he just does not like Ultramarines. So I've never had to actually face Robote Guilliman before, but he does look like a pain. So yeah, interesting to have a look at them here. I've looked at some of the units here to see what changes there are, but there's obviously a huge amount of additional stuff you get in here, such as Relics, Stratagems, Warlord Traits, Psychic abilities that help bring more to the Ultramarines. With that, let's have a look at the units. So I'm not going to go into too much detail on the units themselves because I just don't know them so much. There is 7, no, there's actually a lot more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. 12 different units you bring here. Quite a number of them are special characters, but they add a little bit more to your force. Obviously the big one I'm going to focus on is obviously Guilliman, because he is our, loyalist Primarch that is striding the 40k universe at the moment, or at least openly, trying to put out as many fires as he can because the universe is ablaze. And yeah, everyone kind of talks about him. So what I would say is that he has gone down to 350 points. I think he started at 360 at the start of the edition, went up to 400, he's now down to 350 again. And the most notable change I can see with him is that he previously allowed all Ultramarine units around them to reroll all hits and wounds. I think that's now gone down to just reroll wound rolls of 1 for attacks. So I think that's quite good. He still gets reroll hits, but rerolling just wounds rolls of 1 is fine, because being able to augment wounds I find is one of the strongest things in this edition, because it's kind of hard to do so, and being able to do all of them would have been just crazy, which he did have before. So that is a pretty heavy nerf. Is it 50 points worth? I'm not sure, but it is very helpful. Other things I've seen here as well is the sort of Chapter Ancient, which appears to do things better than your kind of other ancients. I think essentially you get an extra 3 inches to your ancient abilities, which is fine. We can come back and do more damage. You've also got the Tyrannic War Veterans, which is, I think they're more like Stern Guards, but against Tyrannid you get to reroll hits and wound rolls, which can be quite nasty in itself. So maybe you're fighting Tyrannids, you want to make sure you have some specialists to take them out. These are your guys. You've also got your Honor Guard, Chapter Champion, Sergeant Kronos, Sergeant Telian, Marnus Calgar, Tigerius, who's now in Primaris form. And I don't know all of them that well to be able to justify the rules and stats on them. I only had the Space Marine Codex on me when I could review this. I didn't have the Vigilus one to maybe mention on Calgar and the Victorious Honor Guard. Overall, it's good to maybe see all the units that you have additionally available in the Ultramarines, and it is 12 additional ones there, which is kind of handy. But what I can speak about with more authority is, of course, the rules. So what we're seeing in these supplements is that you're getting these sort of additional rules, and I'll describe them for you. This one is called Scions of Guilliman. So here comes the rules. It appears that Scions of Guilliman, as long as every unit in the army is Ultramarine, except for unaligned, again promoting it appears to be, this appears to be promoting don't take alliances, you get an additional rule. So yeah, I think that's quite good, where the combat doctrines are if you only have sort of Space Marines, except for unaligned and servitors, you get combat doctrines. If you then go further and go where all Ultramarines, or I think their successor chapters as well, combat doctrines, yep. Every unit from, and the same for Ultramarine successor chapters. As long as you all share that same one, you then get the Scions of Guilliman. What is the Scions of Guilliman? While the tactical doctrine is active, models with this ability that moved in your movement phase but did not advance or fall back can make attacks with ranged weapons in the following shootings phase as if the unit had remained stationary. So I believe that, you know, with the Ultramarines, I'm just going to stretch over and get their one. As part of their chapter trait, that they can actually fall back and shoot. He says you should have open. Add 1 to leadership characteristics of models with this tactic. Units with this tactic can shoot in the turn in which they fail back, but if they do, when resolving an attack made by a model in that unit in the shooting phase, subtracts 1 from the hit roll. So it just means that you count as being stationary even though you moved. Now, that's not going to really affect the fallback one because it doesn't culminate on there. But it means if you're rolling with heavy weapons, you're not going to suffer the -1 to hit. If you're going to be bolter discipline, you're still going to count as stationary. So there's plenty, I think, if you... No, it doesn't affect advance. So it's basically these sort of bolter discipline and also your heavy weapons, taking maximum effect of the tactical doctrine phase. Overall, I think it's okay. It's not bad. I think you can do well depending on your army, the way you've sort of geared it up. I think it will just take a little bit more finesse for some people to get the true, you know, benefits of that one. Overall, I think it's okay, but not the best one in my eyes. Warlord Traits, so you get a whole bunch of Warlord Traits for being in an Ultramarine successor. Highlights I see under here is Calm Under Fire. When resolving an attack made with a ranged weapon by a friendly Ultramarine model in a unit within 6 inches of this Warlord during a turn in which models fell back, do not subtract 1 to the hit. So that's going to be really good for things like Hellblasters. They get engaged, they need to fall back so they can shoot again. Your Warlord can be like, hey, no -1 to hit for falling back, because that's your Ultramarines. You can fire at full efficiency. So that's quite good on that one, really promoting this sort of gunline idea. Next one is Paragon of War. When resolving an attack made by this Warlord, an unmodified roll of 6 inflicts a mortal wound on the target in addition to any other damage. That sounds like it may affect also in you know, combat and range, so that's a good way to maybe put on more mortal wounds. And overall, that's kind of it. There may be ones I'm missing in that one, but that's kind of the ones that highlighted to me. Not as many as I'd say the White Scars one, where I thought there were some really good highlights, but certainly the Paragon of War I think is quite good, and the Calm Under Fire, depending on your different ways you play, is a useful ability in itself. Next up, we're going to go into the relics. We've got several relics of Makar, I pronounced that wrong, every planet I pronounced wrong, and the special issue war gear. Now, it's interesting, special issue war gear, several of them are similar to the White Scars one, and then there's some that are, you know, especially for Ultramarines. But it's interesting, special war gear is not issued, you know, the ones that are shared between them and White Scars aren't issued out just in the Space Marine Codex. Either way, it's like another 15 or so relics. So which ones do I think are quite good? We start with the Relic of Makar. Ah man, don't pronounce it, maybe pronounce it. The standard, so let's go with it. Ancient model only, add 1 to attack characteristics of models in friendly Ultramarine units while they're within 6 inches of model with this relic. Friendly Ultramarine units automatically pass morale tests while within 12 inches of model with this relic. Extra attacks, not bad. Certainly the new Space Marines do have plenty of ways to get attacks, so an extra one can be pretty good. Rock up with Terminators or Centurions, and that might actually really hurt. You know, Centurions now, Assault Centurions I think might be a sneaky unit. Armour of Connor is going to be Terminator model only. Model with this relic has a 4-up invul. When resolving attack against that model, half the damage inflicted, rounding up. I always like this sort of half the damage, rounding up. It's saved a Baden a bunch of times for me, but it's also, I once did a really bad roll where I think I had 10 saves to make and I failed 8 of them, which pretty much killed them outright, or 9 of them. I was really bad roll. So just having damage can be very helpful. I mean, if you take things that have like got Iron Halos anyway, then that 4-up invul is a bit wasted. I think that should maybe be 3-up so it can benefit them, and then you'd have a really tanky unit. Helm of Censure. When resolving an attack made by a model with this relic, you can reroll hit rolls of 1 and a reroll wound roll of 1. However, when resolving an attack made by that model against Adeptus Astartes or Heretic Astartes, add 1 to the hit and wound roll. So the reroll hit roll of 1 is going to be against like things like captains that will reroll 1 wound rolls of 1, fine. reroll wound roll, hit rolls of 1, then fine. If it's lieutenants, you're not really worried about the wound roll of 1, fine. But still, both of them together are nice. But it's a good way to punish both loyalist and heretic units Astaris. You're like, we don't like what you're doing, and so getting a +1 to it is fine. Not the best, because most things you're going to hit 2+ that might be rocking this. But the +1 to wound is a cheeky wee additional one, and I quite like that. I think if you are facing against other heretic Astaris or loyalist Astaris, that might be a good one to just put a bit of psychological warfare into your opponent. Oh, you're loyalist Astaris, well I get a bonus against you because I'm going to show you how it's done. I quite like that one. I thought that was quite interesting. We then have the special issue war gear in this one. So we have Mastercrafted. This one adds 1 to damage against things that don't have, add 1 to your damage if you are not using a Mastercrafted weapon. I think that's quite good. That means that things like Thunder Hammers, which are solid at 3 damage, you're going to be doing actually 4 damage. I just think that extra damage can go a long way to really punching out a few units. So really when it comes to Mastercrafted, I've always rated these and seen these as quite good. Seal of Oath, which I believe is exclusive to Ultramarines. At the start of the first battle round, before the first turn begins, select 1 enemy unit. You can reroll hit rolls and wound rolls for attacks made by models and friendly chapter units against that enemy unit, whilst that friendly unit is within 6 inches of a model with this relic. So your opponent brings a knight, it's a big scary thing, they bring a bane blade, they bring something that's going to hurt. Activate the Seal of Oath at the start of the game, go, that is a unit I want brought down. Units around that character that have activated it will get to reroll hits and wounds, which will be really, really devastating. Good way to certainly use your units to get the maximum effect to bring down something big. So I think that Seal of Oath may be a really good one to see in Ultramarine armies. Let's go into stratagems next. You have a plethora of stratagems to choose for, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 12, 14, 16 for the Ultramarines. Ones that stand out for me: Inspiring Commander. Use the stratagem at the start of shooting phase or the fight phase. Select 1 Ultramarines Chapter Master, Ultramarines Captain or Lieutenant models from your army. Until the end of the phase, the range of their abilities is 3 inches bigger. 1 command point, just means you can cover more units potentially. Cycle of War. Use the stratagem at the start, it's 1 command point. Use this at the start of your battle round if an Ultramarines warlord from your army is on the battlefield and the Assault Doctrine was active during the previous battle round. The current doctrine is changed so the Devastator Doctrine is now in effect. So that allows you like a hard reset on your doctrines. Maybe you've used your sort of wave of attacks, you've done your Devastator, you've done your Tactical, you've now moved into Assault. Assault's gone down, you've only got your backfield Devastator units. We'll give them an augment again, go back for a command point and start hammering down with your heavy bolters again. Yep, I think that's a pretty solid choice for later game uses. Sons of Guilliman. Use the stratagem when an Ultramarine infantry or bike unit from your army is chosen to shoot in the shooting phase or fight in the fight phase. If that unit has the troops battlefield roll until the end of the phase when resolving an attack made by the unit, you can reroll hit rolls. Otherwise, until the end of that phase when resolving an attack made by a unit, you can reroll hit rolls of 1. Captains that allow plethora of reroll hit rolls of 1, but that just for 1 command point. If a stray unit is somewhere, does give you a bit more of a chance to get more attacks in, which I think is quite handy. We've then got Avenge the Fallen. Use the stratagem when, not the Fallen you're thinking about. Use the stratagem when an Ultramarine unit from your army is destroyed as a result of an attack made by an enemy unit. Until the end of the battle, when resolving an attack made by Ultramarine model from your army against that enemy unit, reroll hit rolls of 1. So that can be, you're fighting something that's big, nasty, and it's chomped down a unit. Well, you can go, well, see when I come to shooting that next time, I'm going to reroll 1s, again, reroll 1s, but it just means that you can certainly put more firepower into that and just make sure it comes down. For 1 command point to really focus fire on a unit, I think that's pretty solid. Tactical Expertise. Use your stratagem at the start of the movement phase if the Tactical Doctrine is active. Until the start of the next battle round, when resolving attacks made with rapid fire assault weapons by Ultramarine model from your army, on an unmodified wound roll of 6, the armor penetration characteristic for that weapon is improved by an additional 1 for that attack. You can only use the stratagem once per battle. So this is similar to the White Scars one. The White Scars one have one that essentially works in the assault phase or the assault doctrine, and what it does is that anything that is pistol or melee gets +1 to their AP. Now, why is this important to speak about? When you look at the combat doctrines, they say they only take an effect when there is no other modifiers to AP, and they specifically say a Warlord trait can't further augment an AP on top of the combat doctrine, unless specifically said. Now, this stratagem at 2 command points is definitively saying it has to be part of the tactical doctrine, and it mentions the 2 specific weapons that go with that. But it doesn't say it works in specifics to augment, as far as I can see, with the combat doctrine. You know, I think it needs to say specifically, it needs to say, you know, this does apply even though the tactical doctrine says it would not. I think Rose is written, it may be a little bit vague on that one. Rose is intended, certainly it says this needs to be the case. So I would let it apply. I would definitely let it apply, because the only situation it would apply would be a rule would do the same thing on top of it and would be cancelled out otherwise, and if anything, it'd actually be worse. So yeah, I think that's just one that might need a little bit clarification on, but I think it's certainly very useful, and I think it does affect your whole army. Unmodified, yeah, from your entire army. So it's your entire army, 2 command points. That's really, really good, and I think a good addition. I'm going to call it right here though, now that I've seen White Scars, that they have got theirs during the assault one, they get theirs during the tactical one, that the Devastator version of this is going to be Imperial Fist. Calling it, bet you, that's going to be a supplement. Don't know if there is going to be one yet. It might have been one posted when we post this or while I'm filming it. So far, I'm going to bet there's going to be a Devastator expertise, and it's going to be Imperial Fist. Bet you. Defensive focus is going to be use its 2 command points. Use your stratagem after Ultramarines unit from your army is chosen as a target of a charge. Select up to 3 other friendly Ultramarine units that are more than 1 inch away from an enemy unit and within 6 inches of the targeted unit. The selected units can fire Overwatch at the charging unit as if they were targets of the charge. 2 command points might be a bit heavy on that one, but hey, you could show those Tau how it's done. You know, you get another 3 units to join in with the Overwatch, which might really hurt an enemy unit, especially if there was like things like Flamers. You're like, oh, these Flamer units, they're joining in, and your opponent may be really devastated. So one to maybe really think about that one there. Tactical Insight. Use a stratagem after generating your tactical objectives in if your Ultramarines Warlord from your army is on the battlefield. Immediately discard your tactical objectives. For each tactical objective you discard, generate 1 tactical objective. You can only use this stratagem if the mission you're planning use tactical objectives, and you can only use this stratagem once per battle phase. 2 command points, and you get to reset your hand. That's actually pretty good. Sometimes you can make a really bad draw and realise it's going to be really devastating for a turn or 2, where you can only really burn 1 card at a time. Reset your hand, and you could certainly really swing that game around. I think that is really good, and I'm really glad to maybe see in Ultramarines. It would be one I'd love to see in other forces as well, but I think that's an absolutely solid stratagem if you are playing tactical objectives, and generally quite good. So that's the highlights I see when it comes to the stratagems. There's a few that are quite good. Lastly, I'm going to look at the Indomitus Discipline. This is the psychic abilities for Ultramarine units. So we've got Scryer's Gaze, which is a bit of a confusing one. Scryer's Gaze has a warp charge of 7. If manifested, if your army is Battleforged, you can choose to immediately gain 1 command point. Command point essentially possibly for free, which is quite nice. If you choose not to do so, once this turn, when resolving an attack made by a model from a friendly Ultramarines unit whilst within 18 inches of the psyker, you can reroll a hit, wound, or damage roll. That's not bad. It might be a case of you're like, I don't need any more command points, but I'd almost always take the command point. Maybe have something that does D3 damage, D6 damage. You're like, I'm certainly going to use my command reroll on that unit to make the damage better, and maybe you're going to use Scryer's Gaze to get another reroll on that damage as well. So there is options in that one. I think they did think, an additional command point, there is something we can do to make it better, and yeah, not bad. I think some people it's going to be quite useful. Telepathic Assault. Telepathic Assault has a warp charge value of 7. If manifested, select 1 enemy unit within 24 inches, invisible to Psyker. Roll 2d6 and add to the result. That unit suffers 1 mortal wound for each point by which the total exceeds the highest leadership characteristic of a model in the unit. Not bad. The strength of this one, I'd say, is it's 24 inches, so you could find a unit that is a little bit lower in leadership and really just target them to try and get as much mortal wounds on them as possible. Yeah, I think that's not bad. Many times I've played against units that I know, like Devastators, love to take away the Sergeant first, which lowers the leadership to, I believe, 7. And then you could do this, and if you manage to get that, a sweet double 6, I think you're 14, you're putting up 7 mortal wounds, which is not bad. I think it's a risky one at, Warp Charge 7, but there might be situations if you can lower morale, it could be really good. Last is going to be Psychic Shackles. Psychic Shackles has a Warp Charge of 6. If manifested, select one enemy unit within 18 inches of the visible to the Psyker. Until the start of your Psychic phase, half the move characteristic rounding up of models in the unit, and when a charge or advance roll is made for units, subtract 1 from the roll. A unit can be affected by this Psychic power and Tenebrous Curse Psychic power at the same time. I'm going to assume Tenebrous Curse. Now I'm going to quickly check the White Scars one to see if it's in there. If not, I'm going to assume it's going to be in like another supplement codex or something. It's not in the White Scars, so it might be in Astra Militarum or something, but I'm going to guess it might be in another supplement in it itself, because I don't see it here. So yeah, that's another one, sort of reduce people's movement. I mean, you get a bit more fire support going your way. So that's kind of my thoughts on the Ultramarines Codex. To summarise, I am less impressed than I am with the White Scars one. I think the White Scars one knew exactly what it was going for, which was devastating charges, attack and combat, ways to augment it. Ultramarines almost seem a little bit of the, jack of all trades, masters of none. They know they need to be in the tactical one, but there's just something a little bit missing from them that I'm just a little bit weary of. Obviously they've got Guilliman rocking about who can do some devastating things, but it's just, I don't know, there's something slightly missing about there. There's some nice stratagems that have used tactics, which I think is good and makes sense for Ultramarines, but I just feel they're not as devastating as White Scars, who have become, I hope, a force to be reckoned, or at least David really hopes it will, because he rocks White Scars. So thanks again for watching. Please comment, like and subscribe. I'm interested to hear what people think on these supplements, maybe depending on their cost, it really depends, but I like that they are really making these, the chapters a little bit more expanded on, and certainly improving them by adding Warlord Traits, Stratagems and Relics as well, to really fill out these chapters, to make them feel a lot more individual. But also, what does this mean for the rest of the game? Will other codexes get supplements? Who knows? So thanks again for watching. Check us out on social media as well, where you can see all our upcoming projects we're working on. I've got one I'm working on at the moment, but it's taken forever, but I'm going to hopefully be nearly done next week. And then also check us out on Patreon to help support the channel, bring you more content, because we absolutely love doing so. So thanks again, and we'll see you on our Tabletop Assault Battle Report.